Y bueno, ahora toca el turno de presentarles a Kshama Bhatia. Algunos de ustedes ya la conocen, su participación es muy valiosa por lo que esta mañana nos acompaña nuevamente. Kshama tiene un doctorado en finanzas internacionales, con 32 años de experiencia como consultora de corporaciones multinacionales, en formación de líderes, gestión financiera multinacional, planeación organizacional, reingeniería de procesos de negocios con implementación de tecnologías. Actualmente, además de fungir como directora de programas corporativos en el Institute of Product Leadership. Démosle la bienvenida, por favor.
Good morning. It's so good to be back. Good morning, all of you. Did you have a good, thank you. Did you have a wonderful night? I'll tell you what, I had a sleepless night. I was thinking about all the things we spoke of yesterday. I met so many wonderful people from all of you audience that asked me so many questions. And I'm like, how do I help you? And I also met a lot of very nice men who said, why don't you talk about us? What about us? Because we are the other part of this equation, and what about us? So what I'm going to do, so what I did last night then is I woke up and I created something for you men. So we are going to play that first, and then we'll talk about, oh, where did this come? How did it move? Okay, well, okay. So we're going to talk about, when we say that we have challenges in society, we have challenges of integration and all of this, and yesterday we talked a little bit about the woman's role in raising the child, the male child as much as the female child, and what it does in the society. I want to tell you that we also need to empower men. We women, as mothers, need to empower our male child in a different way than we've been doing. Why do we have this stereotype of the mother or the woman weak and the man strong? What does this stereotype do to us? Jason just talked about words and the meaning of words and what we do with words and sometimes the damage we create with it. And we call a man strong, right? And what does that make him do in life? It makes him ridicule anything in himself first, and then in the outside, anything that seems, why does this keep moving? I'm so sorry. I don't know what it's doing. But, so anything inside himself, why does he have to feel the burden of being strong? It's not easy to bear that burden either. So let's look at a man's perspective on the soft side, right? And come together on this first before we move on. So where are we? For every strong woman tired of faking weakness, there is a weak man trying to fake strength, okay? For every woman tired of faking foolishness, there is a man tired of having to act as a model of wisdom. This makes me really worked up. For each woman tired of being labeled as an emotional female, there is a man who's denied the right to cry and be sensitive. For every sportswoman whose femininity is questioned, there is a man forced to compete, Bob, in order to give testimony to his virility. For every woman tired of being considered a sexual object, there is a man concerned about his sexual competence. It's a very real problem for men. For every woman who has not had access to a dignified salary, and here we are talking about differences in salaries, There is a man forced to bear the economic responsibility of another human being. It's not easy to shoulder the economic burden of a family, right? For a woman, she has a choice whether she wants to go to work or not, for most women, right? Man doesn't have that choice, right? We haven't created that society for him. For every woman who ignores the secrets of car mechanics, there's a man who doesn't know how to boil an egg. Right? For every woman that steps forward towards her freedom, there is a man who rediscovers his road to liberty, his right to liberty. Okay. The human race is a two-winged bird. One wing is female, and the other is male. Right? Unless both wings are equally developed, we can't fly. Right? So please, let us cooperate. Jason brought out this word, and I think that is so important that we cooperate on this aspect of life, right? We need to integrate each other into each other's roles because we are playing each other's roles now, right? So if we want to integrate roles, we will have to integrate both roles. We can't just integrate one role and then hope to have whatever we want to call it, the word equality, common goals, or whatever it is that we want to now call this, because it's really not all about equality. Again, just as Jason just pointed out, there's more to it than equality. It's working in unison. It's working together. All right, so I'm going to give you some petals of my heart, something that made me who I am today. And I'm going to just share my personal journey with you as we talk. My lessons were granted to me first by my parents, then with my teachers, and then with my gurus. I've had several of them, beautiful, wonderful people. And here's what I learned. Here are a few things I have learned. That we are created to be equal. A boy once asked his mother, "How will I be able to find the right woman?" And guess what the mother should have replied, right? The mother replied, "Don't worry about finding the right woman. First, concentrate on being the right man," right? So you have to and this works in reverse order as well for a man, right? I mean, you first have to create the tools within yourself before you want to extend it out to another person, be it man or woman. You know what the issue with the world is? That everyone talks about this magical solution to problems. Problems are never going to go away. We just have to believe in magic, right? We have to know that God, that created us, can never, ever hurt us. Anything that comes in your way, any problem that you face, don't call it a problem. It's an opportunity. It's God pushing you forward to something much greater, something much, much, much bigger, because He understands, or He sees, He has a global vision much greater than yours. I mean, we can't even create an ant, right? Look at what He creates. I mean, it's just amazing. When you do things from your soul, you feel a river moving from outside you of joy. Do things that matter to your heart, right? Let's not look for things to fill our lives. Let's do things to fill our lives, right? Let's do things that fill our lives. Teach your children the value of frugality. Just because we have money, it doesn't all have to be spent, right? We can do things with our money. Once again, I bring Jason up because he brought a few very important points that lead to my talk, is we could pass it on to this world. We don't have to all use it ourselves. There is so many people who don't have what we have. Let's share. Okay. Let the water settle, and you will see the moon and the stars mirrored in your own being. The whole universe is inside you. because a part of a whole has all the characteristics of the whole. Right? If I were to cut my finger and blood comes out, and you put it under the microscope, every single cell is going to look the same as the cells of the blood running inside me. What does that tell you? You examine a leaf that has fallen from a mango tree or a papaya tree or whatever. You look at it under the microscope, it's the same construct as the rest of the tree, right? So we are not different. If the Creator created us, He created us with the same powers. We just have to exercise our powers. Never allow someone else's actions to convince you that you aren't worthy of success, love, respect, and happiness. You are. Take charge. Take charge of your being. Just your being. And I'm not talking just about happiness. Take charge of your whole being. One day your heart will stop beating and none of your fears will matter. What will matter is how you lived, right? This is one life that we have. If we believe in incarnation, and I do reincarnation and everything, that's fine. But here and now, this is our time. This is all we have, and the minutes are ticking. So let's live, right? Let's first think of that. When we think of that, all these other things melt away. All right, so I'm going to give, but don't allow yourself to be used. Love, but don't allow your heart and body to be abused. Trust, but don't be naive. Listen to others, but don't lose your own voice. Communication is not to be stilled. It has to flow like the blood in your being. It has to continuously flow inside and outside of you. That's the only way you will feel the world. That's the only way you'll experience the world. All right. If we know our qualities, we become smart. If we know our weaknesses, we become intelligent. If we know both, we become successful. Right? So harness everything about yourself. So now, let's talk a little bit about how I grew up. You know, I grew up in a very wealthy family. I was the first girl in 5 generations in my family, so I was a very coveted child. And my family basically, honestly, didn't even know how to raise a girl, other than my mother, of course, but nobody else knew what to do with a woman. So they raised me like a boy, in some sense. But what was different about my upbringing was that regardless of what wealth we had, we were never allowed to feel wealth in the material sense. So I started my first job when I was 6 years old. I had to clean my father's car, and you can imagine what a 6-year-old can clean the car for. But he was my hero, he was my everything at that point in time, and I just wanted more of his time because he was very busy. And he said, you know what, every day you get 10 more minutes if you can clean my car. It was a sort of exchange for something non-material to material, but that taught me something.